The following program is paid for by Absolute Mortgage, a division of Pinnacle Capital Mortgage Corporation. Absolute Mortgage Company, NMLS number 81395 and Washington CL number 81395 is an equal opportunity housing lender. Tina Mitchell, MLO number 145420, is a licensed loan originator with Absolute Mortgage. Visit AbsoluteLoans.com or call 888-90-HOMES for cost information. You're listening to The Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell. Sponsored by Absolute Mortgage, a division of Pinnacle Capital Mortgage Corporation.
Welcome to the Money Hour at 11:50 a.m. KKNW this Saturday, July 26th show. I'm your host and mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell. Thank you for taking time to talk money. I'm here with you to build a strong financial blueprint 1 week and one show at a time. And if you're hearing my show at a different time or day, you're listening to a rebroadcast, but I'm here to answer any questions or connect you with any of the amazing guests I have in studio today. Please call the show at 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150 or online at themoneyhour.com. And my lineup for studio today, regular contributor of my show, Janice Hammond with Sunrise Financial Services. Today, I'm going to have a discussion with Janice on how she is helping her clients to use real estate in their retirement. Also back in studio, Kathy Morrow with Remax Performance Plus. After learning how to add real estate to your investment portfolio from Janice, you need to know how to buy in today's real estate market. We're also going to talk about you sellers out there as well and some strategies to take to maximize your dollar when selling your property. And last guest in studio, another contributor to the show that I've had in many times is Puls with Windermere Real Estate, Yarrow Bay. More conversation on real estate. It's a hot topic. Never enough time or enough information or enough time to go over all the information I wanted to on real estate. Plus, it's in my arena as well, doing financing. So it's great to hear what's happening in the market for me as well as to share with all of my listeners. And we're going to talk about today's real estate market and our local real estate market. Again, for any of you buyers and sellers possibly in the real estate arena, you definitely want to stay tuned for the entire show today. Great information and great guest in studio. For more information on any of the topics discussed, please call into the show at 1-855-400-1150 or online at themoneyhour.com. And as usual, let's go ahead and start out the show with a little money chat.
Money.
I thought I'd talk on mortgages today. Again, that's what I do as a full-time career when I'm not in studio with you guys on Saturday. And I want to talk about 2-1 buy down. A 2-1 buy down is an opportunity to take advantage of these really low interest rates that we have right now, but to get a 2% lower than what you lock in interest rate for the first year that you own the home. And then the next year, the interest rate is going to be 1% lower than your lock-in rate. So I'm going to go through some numbers here to give you an example of how this affects your payment. But let's just say that you locked in an interest rate at 4.25%. I'm not disclosing rates today. There's a lot of different factors, and obviously they move every day based on how the market is doing. But if you were looking at a 4.25% interest rate on a 30-year fixed rate mortgage, because this is a 30-year fixed rate mortgage, it's not adjustable rate mortgage. You're just doing a 2-1 buy down, which means you're buying down your interest rate for a period of time. So again, the first year, the interest rate would be 2% lower, which means your rate would be 2.25%. And then the second year of your 30-year fixed rate mortgage, the interest rate would be 1% lower than the locked-in interest rate. So if you locked in at 4.25%, the rate would be 3.25%. And then the third year of your loan, and for the remaining period of the 30-year fixed rate mortgage, you'd be at your locked-in interest rate at 4.25%. So it's a temporary buy down available for fixed rate mortgages. Now, why would you do this option? It's to get adjusted to the mortgage payment in the first couple years. So if you think there's some things that are going to be changing with your income a couple years into the mortgage and you want to take advantage of the market now, it's a really great opportunity. So let's take a look at a $300,000 loan just to give you an idea of how this could work. Again, we're taking a look at a 4.25% interest rate. So the first year at 2.25%, the principal and interest payment would be $1,140 a month. So you're saving $335 a month over the year, just over $4,000. with that 2% lower interest rate. Now, the second year interest rate going up to 3.25%. Again, it's 1% lower than the actual rate you locked in at 4.25%. You're going to save $170 a month. So that's just over $2,000 in that second year. Now, the third year, the principal and interest is going to be exactly where it would be at 4.25% for the remaining portion of the mortgage, again, because this is a 30-year fixed rate loan at $1,475 a month. So the cost associated to a 2-1 buy down is exactly what the savings is going to be. So we said you were going to save about $4,000, just a little bit over the first year, $2,000. A little bit more than that the second year, but let's just round the numbers down. So it'd be a total of $6,000. That's what it's going to cost you for the buy down. So you're not paying any additional fee for the buy down. You're just prepaying the mortgage up front. So if you've got a little more extra cash and it's more important for you to have a lower payment, what you don't want to do is miss the opportunity of this market because you're trying to get in a better financial situation. When you know that financial situation is going to be improving in a couple years, you want to buy now, because I don't know that we're going to see these interest rates. I don't think we're going to see these interest rates 2 years from now. And I think that we're going to see properties continue to appreciate as well, which means you're losing out on a great price and you're losing out on a great cost. The combination is a win-win situation. Now, so some examples of how to pay this. Let's say you don't have an extra $6,000 in cost. You can actually try to negotiate to get the seller to pay for it. Now, when I have my two real estate experts that are going to be talking with you today in studio, in this environment, getting the seller to give you $6,000 to cover a 2-1 buy down to minimize that payment in the first 2 years of your loan is not going to be likely unless you're getting out of the market and you're buying in an area that's not so aggressive as what we're seeing here in our local market. But what you might be able to do, you might be able to increase the price, offer the seller a little bit more for the home to get them to agree to pay that money. So this is something you really want to have a discussion with your realtor. Once you've made a decision on who you're going to work with, initially have that conversation, because they need to know they're going to structure things different depending on the property you're looking at. One property may not be listed very strategically from the agent that's representing the seller, which means they're not getting multiple offers, and we're going to talk about that today. So if you're the only offer in there, your realtor may put that offer together a little bit differently than they would if it's a multiple offer situation. So have the conversation up front so you can strategize depending on the property you're going to make an offer on. Now, by increasing the payment by $6,000, by increasing the purchase price, I don't want to confuse you, increasing the purchase price by $6,000, you may be thinking my mortgage payment's going to go up anyways. Why would I do that? Yes, that's the case, but only if every $1,000 that you increase it is only $5 a month in the mortgage payment. So it's nothing at all in comparison to what we're seeing in the buy down of rate. So options of those of you that might be thinking of possibly doing this, again, it's perfect for somebody that has an income situation that might be changing. Maybe you're starting out a position to where your income's going to be a little bit lower, but you know that income's going to go up. Maybe you're a commission employee that gets paid commission at the end of the year. And so you know that commission's going to come in and you just want to get through that first year, because there's multiple ways you can do this. You can do a 2-1 buy down, which we just discussed. You can do a 1 buy down, which means you're buying it down 1% for the first year, or you can actually do a 3-2 buy 1, 3-2-1 buy down. A 3-2-1 buy down would be 3% lower the first year, 2% lower the second year, 1% lower the third year, and then you're ultimately into your fixed rate mortgage. Now, here's another reason why you might see a benefit with a 2-1 buy down is maybe for some reason you can't actually qualify for the payment today. You've got something going on with your income that it's not falling within the box of qualifying, which means that you can't use that income to qualify, but you're actually getting paid that income. Maybe you've got a second job that you haven't been working for 2 years. Maybe you've got commission or bonus income that you haven't been receiving 2 years. A lot of different reasons why you may be making more income than the bank is actually going to calculate for approval. This would be a perfect opportunity for you because you can qualify at that lower payment. Now, another option or another reason why you might want to use a 2-1 buy down is if for some reason you don't have the credit scores to qualify for a conventional loan, but you know that you're going to in a couple years. FHA is a lot more expensive in the monthly payment, But do you want to hang around and wait for a couple years while you're trying to improve your credit score? No, because possibly missing out on historical low rates, as well as if the properties continue to appreciate. Get in, buy now. And if you do the 2-1 buy down, it doesn't matter that the FHA payment would be higher because of the fact that you've got that lower interest rate. So a lot of information to go over in my 5-minute money chat. If you have any questions, again, please pick up the phone, give my show a call. We can talk things over, run some numbers, and see if it fits within your financial goals and needs. 1-855-400-1150 or online at themoneyhour.com. And coming up next, Janice Hammond with Sunrise Financial Services right here on 1150 AM KKNW after this short break.
When it comes to your retirement, don't compromise. Call Sunrise. The number one mistake made when planning for retirement is to do nothing. If you are within 10 to 15 years of retirement and don't have a plan for retirement income streams, call for your complimentary consultation today or visit Sunrise online at www.sunrisefinancialservices.net.
Hi, this is Janice Hammond with Sunrise Financial Services. You can reach my office at 206-420-8520. That's 206-420-8520.
Mortgage fraud has been rampant since 2007. Many folks don't know they have legal rights. Find out if your mortgage loan has wrongdoings and fraud. Magnum Law Group will do a free audit of your loan documents. Facing foreclosure? Need to stop a foreclosure sale? Magnum Law Group can help. We have experts with valuable knowledge, and we get results. Have you decided to short sale your property instead of a foreclosure? Magnum Law Group has the experience to negotiate better and faster for you.
Hi, this is Deborah with Magnum Law Group. Please contact us at 425-454-4300. You can visit our website at www.magnumlawgroup.com or call us at 425-454-4300.
This is the Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, on Alternative Talk, AM 1150.
Welcome back to the Money Hour with your host and mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell, right here on 1150 AM KKNW, the Saturday, July 26th show. I bring into studio each week the best of the best experts in our local market on everything regarding your money. And I'm here to help you in any economy that we're in. And I think we've got some great things going on in the economy right now. And maybe you're looking for some opportunities to invest. And if, by the way, you're listening to a rebroadcast of this show coming on at a different time or day, it is a rebroadcast of my show. And you can feel free to give the show a call, 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150 or online at themoneyhour.com. And I can connect you with any of the guests that you might have missed on the regular time, which comes on Saturday. And in studio right now, retirement is a financial goal common to just about anyone who works for a living. And a question that many of my listeners have is, how can I financially prepare myself for retirement? Most people think solely on saving their money, maybe investing in the market, depending on what the right time is. But have you ever thought about investing in real estate as a retirement tool? You may have thought about the roof over your head as an opportunity, but let's take it from a different angle and think about retirement. Today we have financial professional and female business owner Janice Hammond here with us to give us an insight into this very topic. Janice, thank you so much for coming back in studio. It's always a pleasure to have you here.
No problem. Love to educate.
Let's go ahead and I want to give a little bio about Janice and we'll get right into her segment. Janice recognizes the need for a more conservative approach to investing that strives to outpace inflation, and her firm caters to the unique needs of each individual. So after 10 years in the financial industry, Janice opened her doors to Sunrise Financial Services in order to help people avoid common mistakes when planning for retirement. So, Janice, let's go ahead and get started with some general ideas about when people commonly retire and about how much people are saving on an average for a big event.
Well, the age can really range based on the amount of money you have saved and are planning to spend during your retirement. So most people have a general goal that they will retire by the age of, say, 65. But my recent research from the official Social Security website, which is www.ssa.gov, which I recommend everyone go visit and know your numbers there. But I discovered that the normal quote unquote retirement age has moved up to the age of 67. And with the higher cost of living and the desire to maintain your lifestyle, it is definitely taking some people longer to reach their retirement age goal. So the amount of money you want to save on average, like I said, is really a vast range based on how much you're going to spend each year in retirement. And, everybody has a different idea of what living comfortably means and making sure that it's within your means.
Makes total sense. And I'm actually going to show Dave the stats that you pulled because he's getting ready to retire. And I think he's pretty lucky because he's a lot younger than 67 years old. So what if your savings and Social Security don't add up to the amount that you feel is necessary, but you still want to retire? What are some options?
There are a lot of people that are in that boat that they've saved and made tough decisions their whole life. And now it's time to figure out what they are going to spend their money on. So it's exactly where another income stream can come into play. And you know how much I like income streams in retirement. So for example, your Social Security and your retirement plan, meaning either an IRA or a 401k or any kind of company plan that you have, maybe the results from those two only cover about 60% of your ideal income. Okay. So what will you do to supplement the other 40% that you need? And this is where another pillar of retirement income stream comes from real estate. In addition to pensions, Social Security, insured investments, I think real estate can be a great paycheck type investment.
And I'm a big believer in the real estate market, Janice, obviously, because I do mortgages, and I wouldn't be doing mortgages if I didn't believe in real estate. And I think it is important to have that. But a lot of people, and some of my listeners might be thinking, gosh, what a lot of work to have an actual real property.
Yeah, no, I think that, I have a lot of people that ask me, is real estate a good investment? And the answer to that is, do you want to be a landlord? And if you don't, then you have your answer right there. It is not a good investment for you. But it's not as much work as you would think. And there are actually many different ways of owning real estate and making a profit off of it without having to constantly keep your thumb on it. So don't get me wrong. If you want to stay busy in retirement, there are lots of ways we can keep busy. And we can go through a few of these today.
So Dave likes to keep busy, Janice, but for me, when I retired, I want to do as little as possible. So let's start with ones that could potentially take the most work and go from there.
Sure. I'm with you. I'm a beach bum.
And Mike is like Dave, right?
Yeah. So
opposite attract.
Exactly. So one of the first things to look at is that the number of renters are going up. According to the National Multifamily Housing Council, 35% of people are now renting. And this is projected to keep rising with the coming years. So this means that there are going to be more opportunities for retirees to have potential income streams. And a great way to do this, for example, if you're looking to purchase a new house, keep the one you currently own and rent it out once you move. Since rental properties offer tax benefits and that will help offset the tax liability, having income from rentals is one of the more tax efficient ways to create retirement income.
So, Janice, could you share with my listeners what would be the negatives to doing this?
Well, number one, if you don't want to be a landlord in retirement, because you're taking calls 24 hours a day potentially, so that it is a little bit higher maintenance. So if you do want to take time to relax as much as possible, this could be something that you'd want to steer away from. Renting out a home means you are the landlord, which entails finding renters, upkeeping the house, which can be expensive, and filing a more complicated tax return for sure.
So what about renting out your own home, Janice?
I think that's a great idea. And there's a couple different ways you can do that. I mean, there's VRBO now. So you rent out your home on short-term stays. You house trade. So if you're going to an extended place, you might trade houses with somebody there. And the nice thing is, if you rent out your home, you don't need to worry about selling it if you want to go travel and things like that. So maybe you want to wait until later till prices rise. And as long as you have a good renter in your home, you can usually count on a steady monthly income. So just make sure you want to be a landlord.
Okay, so these options are really good ideas, Janice, to think about when looking to go to the rental route. What other options could people look into if they have decided that renting and being a landlord is not right for them?
Well, as you're familiar with, there's using the equity in your home. So using it as a reverse mortgage. There's a couple different ways you can go about doing that. And you can look for things like this. So when I was researching this, I found a website, usnews.com. They covered 3 of the main ways people choose to do this. So one is a home equity line, followed by a home equity line or cash out refinance, which is it can also be, in addition to doing a reverse mortgage. So it really depends on what you need and if that's the best thing for you. So obviously you specialize on this. What do you think?
Well, interest rates at historical low rates, and I know we've been saying this forever because they just are not going up, but they have to go up sooner or later. And so this is an opportunity that you definitely are in a position to miss. And so with the rate so low right now, the cost to borrow is so inexpensive. Looking and talking with you and Janice, what makes more sense there on whether they can get that and earn compound in another class is something you want to look at. You just want to be really careful as an individual that you're being smart when you're looking at a home equity line of credits, taking cash on your property, because a lot of people, that's one of the reasons that a lot of people lost their homes is they did a lot of equity repositioning, and a lot of the fault to the banks because the banks were lending on clients that they should have never lent on, where there's been a lot of stop to that now that you really have to financially be able to prove for these transactions. But you want to make sure that you're putting yourself in a good position and you're not putting yourself at risk, because it's a little harder to sell this, as you said, than it would be for maybe some other investments or cash in the bank.
Irresponsible lending and borrowing come to mind when I think about those things.
So, Janice, what about the financial pros and cons?
So with each scenario, you're borrowing against the value of your own home. So if you're not able to make the payments that you have set, then you definitely are at risk of losing your home. Whereas if you take the money and invest it, you may not be guaranteed that your rate of return will beat the interest rate that you're actually paying on the mortgage. So it's a gamble either way that you go in that direction, I think.
So let's give the pros to my listeners.
All right. So the money that you have borrowed against your home can actually be used to pay off any higher interest rate debt or important home maintenance concerns that you might have. Some people choose to invest this money in something that can maybe provide additional income in retirement. And this is a good choice if your returns are greater than the interest you will be paying on if you have a new or second mortgage. And sometimes it's a good idea to maybe have just an open home equity line on your house, even if you don't carry a balance on it, just in case. It's something you can use to maybe lend money to your children or whatever's important to you. But I mean, and again, if you're borrowing money, that's another thing, is there may not be as much left over if leaving a legacy is important for you.
I think the home equity line of credit you can't really go wrong by having a home equity line of credit unless you actually use the money. Right. So get it for the maximum, have that money set up, just as Janice said, if there was a reason that you do need it. You just need to be smart with your money as you're taking that, borrowing against that home equity line of credit. So these are some really good things to consider, Janice. I think we've got a little more time. Another option. What do you say?
So the last one I think is probably my favorite because it's the most strategic. And so let's end on the 1031 exchange.
Okay.
So if you look up 1031 exchanges, there are many websites that give you long, drawn-out explanations of what it is. And don't get me wrong, there's definitely a handful to learn on this, but I want to break it down so it's easy for everyone to understand. So long story short, a 1031 exchange, and this is according to APIexchange.com, allows an investor to sell a property, to reinvest the proceeds in a new property, and to defer the capital gains taxes on there. So it can protect investors from capital gains taxes as well as facilitating significant portfolio growth and increased returns on investment. So in order to get the full potential of these benefits, it is extremely important to make sure you research fully and understand the process at hand. Talk to a CPA, talk to a financial planner, and make sure that you aren't overlooking things and making mistakes that other people do. So please ask me any questions that that you have.
And it's excellent, Janice. And you've got to have the right people working for you. I can't say enough about Janice and everything that she's provided for my listeners, for myself personally. And I just highly encourage to give her a call. Pick up the phone, call her directly if you want to at 206-420-8520. If you don't have a pen to write it down because you might be driving in your car, you should all have my number memorized here at the show, 1-855-400-1150. Janice, thank you again so much for coming back in studio. It's always a pleasure to have you and the wealth of information that you provide for my listeners. I so much appreciate you.
Thanks, Tina. You too.
Coming up next in the Money Hour, here to discuss what's happening in today's real estate market and how consumers are reacting to this current environment. Kathy Morrow with RE/MAX Performance Plus right here on 1150 AM KKNW after the short break.
Kathy Morrow of RE/MAX Performance Plus has been successfully selling residential real estate in Washington since 1997. She has the passion and experience in real estate to bring a successful outcome to your particular real estate quest, whether you're buying or selling for the first time or an experienced real estate investor.
Hi, this is Kathy Morrow with RE/MAX Performance Plus, 206-295-9503. Again, Kathy Morrow with RE/MAX Performance Plus, 206-295-9503.
Mortgage fraud has been rampant since 2007. Many folks don't know they have legal rights. Find out if your mortgage loan has wrongdoings and fraud. Magnum Law Group will do a free audit of your loan documents. Facing foreclosure? Need to stop a foreclosure sale? Magnum Law Group can help. We have experts with valuable knowledge, and we get results. Have you decided to short sale your property instead of a foreclosure? Magnum Law Group has the experience to negotiate better and faster for you.
Hi, this is Deborah with Magnum Law Group. Please contact us at 425-454-4300. You can visit our website at www.magnumlawgroup.com or call us at 425-454-4300.
This is the Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, on Alternative Talk, AM 1150.
Welcome back to the Money Hour with your host and mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell, right here on 1150 AM KKNW, the Saturday, July 26th show. Each week I share expert advice and inside knowledge on how today's events can affect our local economy, which ultimately affects your money. And if you're listening to my show at a different time or day, you're listening to a rebroadcast. To talk to me directly or any of the guests that I have in studio, please feel free to call the show at 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150 or online at themoneyhour.com. And in studio now, Kathy Morrow with RE/MAX Performance Plus. Real estate is a hot topic today, and there's a lot of advice on how to navigate through the environment. But the wrong advice can cost you big financial mistakes, and it is market specific on what you're doing, and every market's going to be different in what your strategy is going to be. So excited to have Kathy here to talk about her local market. Kathy, thank you for coming back in studio.
Thank you for having me.
And a little background on Kathy. Kathy was born and raised in Oregon and graduated from Oregon State University. After graduation, she married her husband, John, who was in the Air Force for 22 and a half years. And they have lived in many states in the United States. They settled back in the West Coast in 1996 and have bought and sold 5 houses along the way. And the process brings her personal experience to buying and selling real estate, which sometimes is the best experience to have when you've got it personally yourself. Kathy's been licensed in Washington State since 1997, so she has been through all of the ups and downs that we've seen in the real estate market. So, Kathy, we're going to talk a little bit about buyer and seller with you today. And let's go ahead and start out with the best way that a buyer can get the home that they want. And what does a buyer need to do?
Well, the first thing they need to do is to get themselves pre-approved with the lender. And part of that pre-approval process means finding their assets and finding other debts, everything they want, and get that to the lender, such as Tina, to get this started. Without that pre-approval process in this competitive market, it's not possible to find a house.
So I think sometimes, Kathy, and I so appreciate that coming from the realtor, and I think sometimes when I say things about your arena, clients might hear it differently, and vice versa. When you're saying something about my arena, they're going to hear it differently as well. And so I think it's important to hear it from your side. And I think a lot of people they think they're pre-qualified, and so they're ready to go if they're pre-qualified. But there's a difference between pre-qualified and pre-approved, as Kathy said. It's really going through all of the information. And why is that pre-approval letter so important, Kathy?
We are still living in a seller's market, and they are going to take the highest and best multiple offer with the most qualified buyer. Somebody who thinks they have the money, I can get money, I have a house, I have this, I have that, isn't necessarily true. And sellers and their savvy agents are going to call the lender that they say they have a pre-approval with to find out if they truly are approved to begin that process.
And I think it's important, too, and correct me if I'm wrong, Kathy, and how that letter is read to make sure it actually is a pre-approval that's been underwritten and not just a pre-approval that has an automated computer system, correct?
Correct. If I am a listing agent and I see something that says they've essentially just spoken to someone, and you can have a nice fluffy little letter that says they're credit qualified, doesn't mean they have any down payment, doesn't mean they've made sure they don't have any surprise debts. Pre-approved means they've gone through the process, they've got their information to the lender, and it means something to that potential seller.
Yep. Makes total sense. So let's talk about buyer's offer in a multiple offer situation and the importance of earnest money. And the higher the earnest money is, obviously it's going to make that offer stronger. But can you talk about that? How much earnest money are you seeing in your market?
It still varies by the number of offers on it. Generally, you need at least 2%. Okay. In Washington, we only take up to 5%. So,
I just found that out recently, that there was a limit to the earnest money. But go ahead.
Yeah. Well, and part of that becomes at risk. I work mostly the South End, so we're not quite as tight on people actually losing their earnest money as it might be in Seattle. But you're really showing that you have good faith in this purchase price and your offer, that you're putting that as proof of your sincerity. Just putting $500 down, which might have flown in a buyer's market, does not fly right today.
Yeah.
It also means you may have to move the money as a buyer, and you may have it in savings or you may have it in the stock market, but it has to be liquid to prove to the seller that you really have the money to buy.
Yeah. And again, as Kathy said, it's a good faith deposit and basically just means that it's going to be credited back towards your down payment or closing cost when the loan is at the closing stage, unless it's at risk because of contingencies. And that's why you've got to work with a good realtor to make sure that doesn't happen. So, Kathy, let's go into when presenting the offer, and the closing date's important. What are you seeing in your market that buyers need to do as far as the actual closing date?
The closing date, that's part of the reason that pre-approval process is important. The guidelines, as we've all seen, are very tight. And to close in 30 days is wonderful for if it can happen. It may not be what the seller wants. The seller may want 45 days. They may want 15. If you've been pre-approved and have flexibility, then the 30 days or less can work. But I'm finding that frequently, some lenders cannot do it in 30 days. They really need 45 days. And if you put down 30 days and you can't close, they may or may not extend to that new date. On the other side, if the seller has no place to go and they need 60 days, you need to be able to have that flexibility to let them stay a little longer so that they'll have a place to go and will be more willing to accept your offer. Yeah, and it's really great. Your realtor should be asking the questions of the seller to find out exactly what they need, because every seller is going to be different. And I appreciate the 45 days, Kathy. But what I will say is that your lender should be able to close in 30 days. There's a lot of nightmare scenarios that are happening out there, and it follows the 80-20 rule, and I think even a 90-10 rule that I make up. The 80-20 rule is everything's kind of 80-20, and I believe that maybe 20% of the industry is able to get that done.
Make sure your work is guaranteed. My pre-approval letter is right on the second page of the letter. It's guaranteed. And if we don't close on time within a 30-day calendar, not 30-day business day, 30-day calendar, we're going to pay the buyers $1,000 for their closing costs. And I promise you that's going to make all the difference in the world if you have that 30-day closing and the seller wants to close in a shorter period of time, as well as the fact that it has a guarantee on there, because everybody sees the second page of the pre-approval letters and knows that obviously that lender that you're working with. So make sure you have a guarantee attached to that. When presenting the offer, so we've talked about the closing date. How do you feel about waiving inspection contingencies? And I know this is going to be depending on the area and the market that you're in, but what is your advice and how are you educating your clients on that, Kathy, in your market?
I personally never recommend someone waive an inspection contingency.
Okay.
If they want to get a pre-inspection, you need to get the seller's permission.
Okay.
If I'm representing the sellers, I don't necessarily want 20 people doing their pre-inspection over my house and destroying things along the way.
Yes.
Because it does cause more problems for the winning potential buyer. Sometimes I get contractors who are buying, and if they are perfectly comfortable that the inspection is perfect, that's fine. But most people need an inspection. There might be water in the crawl space. Most of my buyers don't look in the crawl space. There may be anything else wrong. There could be wiring or the box. Just anything can come up in an inspection that if you waive it, you've waived that right to get out of it. The lender may call it, and sometimes that is a win. If it's a VA loan or an FHA, they might be a little tighter, but they may not catch it either.
Yeah.
We're all human.
Yep. And so if you've, I think it's important with waiving finance contingency just makes or waiving inspection contingency basically means you are doing no inspection of the home at all. And if you heard Kathy, and not I'll repeat it because it's important, is the pre-inspection. So you're getting an inspection. What you're doing is you're paying for that inspection, not knowing if that offer is going to come together. So you're in a multiple offer situation and you've got to budget in that you might be doing a few pre-inspections, because the reality, if you're not willing to go into an offer without an inspection contingency, your offer may just be pushed to the side, not looked at. And so how you get around that is you're paying for it up front. It's just the cost of going through and shopping for a home. Now, obviously, if you're the only offer on the table, then that's great, because better chance that you're going to get that home. So Kathy, can you share one creative thing that you're doing to help your buyers in multiple offers?
Sometimes we write a wonderful letter that tells them how much they love the property, what their family's going to be like when they're living there. Sometimes it's that personal touch that makes that buyer looks more important.
Okay.
Financing contingency, of course, need to be in place. The inspection time frame, although I never recommend waiving it, I sometimes can do 3 or 4 days, and that's almost as good as waiving as far as the seller's concerned, because I know you're getting it done right away.
Makes sense.
Also, again, listening to what the seller wants. If the seller wants a 15-day close, that can work if I've got a cash buyer. If they need a 30 days or a 45 days, or they just want possession after closing a little bit, sometimes we use that to win.
Yeah. So what about, let's go ahead and shift our hats here and say that you're representing a seller, because you represent buyers and sellers. And we actually have a minute left. The segment just goes so quick, and I had so many more questions I wanted to ask you, Kathy, but I'm going to let you say anything on sellers. So if you've got your seller hat on, you're helping to represent them versus the buyer. What do you want our sellers to know?
Well, sellers, first thing they need to do is get their house ready. They need to clean it, declutter it, stage it, get it ready to go. Make sure it smells nice. When they drive up, put that buyer's hat on and see, does it have street appeal? Those are the first things. And then set a realistic price. I mean, we are in a normal market. Our prices go up in the spring and they kind of stabilize in the summer. Thank goodness we're in a regular market, because that seems to be what's happening again. It's fair. I mean, the buyers and the sellers are getting fair deals. I don't think we're seeing too many people overpay. And in our state, people won't overpay. We think our house is worth that price. They only will show if the buyer is qualified to that price. So pricing the home correctly to start with, I think, is probably the most important thing they need to do.
I totally agree. Kathy, thank you so much for coming back in studio and sharing information with my listeners. Really appreciate it. And if you want to talk to Kathy, pick up the phone, give the show a call, 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150. Or you can go online at themoneyhour.com. And if you've missed any of the show, because I've got some dynamic people in studio today, you can always listen. Type in their name or type in the subject you're looking for in the search bar, and you can pull up any of the mini segments on all of the guests and listen to them. Oh, it's kind of like a good movie. You miss some of the stuff and you just want to listen to it over and over again. So we've got everything podcast right on the website. Kathy, again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And coming up next in the Money Hour, what do you need to know about the local real estate market in another area? Wolf Puls with Windermere Real Estate, Yarrow Bay, right here on 1150 AM KKNW after this short break.
When the time comes to sell an aging parent's home, there are many questions that require a reassuring expert. Wolf Puls, a local realtor from Windermere Real Estate for over 30 years, has special training and experience to make that transition less stressful for all. Call Wolf Puls for a free consultation about preparing and selling your parent's home.
This is Wolf Puls with Windermere Real Estate. You can reach me on my cell phone, 425-444-2787. Again, that's 425-444-2787.
Mortgage fraud has been rampant since 2007. Many folks don't know they have legal rights. Find out if your mortgage loan has wrongdoings and fraud. Magnum Law Group will do a free audit of your loan documents. Facing foreclosure? Need to stop a foreclosure sale? Magnum Law Group can help. We have experts with valuable knowledge, and we can get results. Have you decided to short sale your property instead of a foreclosure? Magnum Law Group has the experience to negotiate better and faster for you.
Hi, this is Deborah with Magnum Law Group. Please contact us at 425-454-4300. You can visit our website at www.magnumlawgroup.com or call us at 425-454-4300.
This is the Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, on Alternative Talk, AM 1150.
Welcome back to the Money Hour with your host and mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell, right here on 1150 AM KKNW, the Saturday, July 26th show. I am dedicated to my listeners, providing you with the tools needed to make informed decisions on matters that affect your money. If you're hearing my show at a different time or day, you're listening to a rebroadcast, you can call into the show at 1-855-400-1150 or online at themoneyhour.com to discuss anything regarding money with me or talk to any of the guests that I've had in studio today. And right now we're going to talk with Wolf Puls with Windermere Real Estate, Yarrow Bay, and get a little bit of the local scoop that's happening in the real estate market. Wolf, thanks for coming back in studio.
Thank you, Tina. Glad to be here.
Very handsome man with three kind of good-looking girls, right?
Oh, absolutely. Five.
Oh, yeah, there is five.
Total.
That's right.
Yes.
We've got Carly, my engineer. I was just thinking of us sitting behind the other side of the desk. So a little background with Wolf. Wolf has been selling real estate for 30 years, full-time realtor, and 27 of those years with Windermere Real Estate East Yarrow Bay office. He served 7 years on the board of Seattle King County Realtors Association and was 2012 president. Wolf has been a 7-year winner of Best in Client Satisfaction Award as a 5-star professional featured in Seattle Magazine. He holds a senior real estate specialist designation and has been married for over 25 years to a Bellevue. I know, I'm 20. I'm getting up there. And he's married to an educator, a school teacher in Bellevue, who puts up with this crazy schedule as a realtor. So that says a lot for your wife, Wolf, definitely.
Absolutely.
And he's a homeowner, investor, and second homeowner in Lake Chelan. And I love it when I give you a call occasionally and you're picking up your home in Lake Chelan. How's things going anyways? Has you seen any effect with the fire in near your home?
Not for us personally, but it is quite a tragedy over there.
Yeah.
And I was just seeing something that our company is doing, as well as others. But if people want to help, I think the things like the Red Cross are really important right now to donate money, because it took a lot of people by surprise. I mean, wildfires are a fact of life out in central and eastern Washington, but this really was
It's a bad one. Yeah,
it was. We had breakfast at Campbell's Resort and talked to our waitress, and 2 people that worked there lost their homes. So,
oh my gosh,
completely gone.
Yeah, well,
tough.
Sorry. Yeah,
Hard to imagine.
That is tough. So, Wolf, with values rising at double-digit percentage levels in King County, surrounding counties, should buyers wait until this kind of plateaus, or what's your advice?
Well, I think it goes back to that old cliche about you snooze, you lose. You know, and I think a lot of people think that, oh, geez, this is a crazy environment to be a buyer in, and no one would argue that. However, by just trying to time it, I don't think that that's actually going to be to anyone's benefit, because by the time perhaps that you think you want to get into the market, prices have probably increased. And just like we talked about earlier, maybe the interest rates have finally kicked up a little bit. So any advantage you have is gone.
I totally agree. And I just ask clients, could you say what's going to happen in the stock market? And if you had a good stock price, would you hold? Same thing with real estate. So we still hear about multiple offers and buyers waiving the inspection contingency. In your area, good or bad, Wolf?
I'm with Kathy on that. Tina, it's a situation where there's really, it's a difficult situation, because as buyers go, geez, to get an advantage, maybe if I waive the contingency of inspection, I'll get my offer at least looked at. If there's 10 offers on the table and 5 of them have inspections and 5 don't, well, those 5 that have inspections just get set to the side.
Yeah.
Possible. So the pre-inspection addendums and the pre-inspection kind of were built by the legal attorneys for the real estate industry, and that's an avenue to do it. It's you consider it that even if you lose a couple of homes and it costs you a couple $100 to do that, $1,000 is a pretty wise insurance policy.
Yeah, it makes total sense. And a lot of creative things, too, that buyers are doing is going in with these escalation clauses to where they're putting a limit. Well, you talk about that. And are you using that? And if so, how high are you encouraging or advising your clients to go?
In our area, and I cover more than just the east side, but I think it's just generally in the Seattle marketplace, multiple offers still exist. And so the escalation addendum, the 35E, has kind of become part of life for all of us. And there's different rules or lines of thought on that. I've pretty much taken the tact with my clients when we're making an offer. It's kind of multifold. One is you as a buyer, with my assistance, decide what is the most that you're comfortable paying for this house.
Yes.
If someone else beats us out by $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, then you really haven't lost the house. So we just move on and we find you another house. The best thing that a buyer can do is ask their buyer agent to run an analysis of what the sales to list price ratio is for that area in the last 30 to 60 days. I just did a proposal the other day. The sales to list price ratio of the homes that have sold in the last 60 days was 105%. So that gives you an idea that if you've got a $500,000 home, perhaps an escalation should max out somewhere at say 525 or 535.
That is excellent advice, Wolf, because I think at a buyer, I know they don't know this like the industry would because they're not doing this every day, but there is a strategic way to list a home. And a lot of times for the agent that represents the seller might be listing it a little tiny, but you never want to list it over market. That's bad. But they're listing it a little under market to get those people to come in and get these multiple offers. So what an excellent idea. And I think it's also important to understand what that's going to be doing different in your payment. Are you just look at $5,000 if it's going to be, $40 a month in the payment, or is it worth it to you to lose that dream home? Because sometimes it's not necessarily whether that house is, if you're totally vested in that price, that it's worth that. But if this is your home and you want it and you're willing to pay that extra $40, having those numbers really helps as well. So let's talk about trends in construction. What are you seeing? What do you like about what's going on?
Well, I think one of the things that I'm enjoying seeing is I've noticed in the last few years that I think the a lot of the products that are being used in houses. Mm-hmm. For example, if you go back, and maybe a lot of our listeners don't remember, or maybe some of them have been burned by this, but the LP siding products of the 80s and the early 90s, those created nightmares for a lot of people, whether they purchased or were selling. So these days, with the better products that are being used, the more efficient products, we just in our second home and redid the second home, and we put in a new heat pump, but we also did a thermostat that's a Wi-Fi thermostat that we can control remotely. So those kind of things are really kind of cool to see. It's nice. And also what I like seeing, I think there's a little bit of tendency to go back to better function than just raw square footage.
Yeah, it makes total sense, Wolf. And what about some things that you object to, some trends that are happening right now?
Personal problem that I see is, we've had the opportunity for people, investors, to make good money, which they should, on flipping houses. With some of them, and especially with the fact that we talked about with inspections being waived.
Yes.
I think a lot of houses they have what I refer to as lipstick on a pig. Someone is just basically... You've never heard of that before?
No.
Lipstick on a pig basically refers to just dressing the outside, window dressing, without doing the major systems. And that's where the problem comes into with the house has just been... basically just painted and made to look pretty, but the systems are not bad, that if you do have a waiver of inspection. So double-edged sword, but, if you're buying a home that has just been turned to spin and to flip, have someone look at that house.
And that makes total sense because it's a whole different strategy when they're flipping versus someone that's lived in that home and completely has remodeled it. Sure. So what about, with technology, it's so easy to communicate over technology, and I think there's a lot of loss in the communication person to person. What are your thoughts in going through the real estate process? Is it necessary?
Absolutely. I think that in order to have a good relationship, whether it's with your buyers or your sellers, technology, texting, and instant messages, we set up our buyers to receive the latest listings as soon as they come on. But it still requires a one-on-one. You still need that somewhere down the line. Obviously, you can write up a house and not meet a buyer, but I don't recommend that.
Yeah, it makes sense. So, Wolf, you have experience in this area, so I want to ask you on second home purchase, is it a good time to be buying that vacation in that second home? Where you seeing people doing this? What's your comment there?
Second home prices are starting to come back. For a while, they were kind of like everybody was dumping them first because, of course, if you've got two homes and you have a financial situation that you can't, financial hardship, the thing you're going to get rid of is your second home first.
Yes.
The thing that if someone talks to me and says, hey, I know you've got a second home, what do you recommend? And I say, test drive an area. Don't just go to some place like a Lake Chelan or a Bend or anywhere and fall in love with it because it's really unique and then make an offer on something. Whether, rent there or, go to vacation there a couple of years. Is this something you like? And if so, then go forward.
Yeah, it makes total sense. And I think with the second home, I think people think the cost to purchase with rate is higher. It's not. A little higher down payment. You need a 10% down payment for second home, and talk with your CPA, but you do get a write-off with one second home.
Right.
So a staged home, vacant one, what's better when you're selling your property?
I think it's been proven. Barb Schwartz, kind of the inventor of staging, would just verify this. In fact, I've had her tell me that a staged home always sells quicker and for more money. And I think that's an agreement. However, staging sometimes is an expensive proposition for people. Not everyone has that in their budget. So what we do as an alternative is new paint. Some of the cheapest way to get a house ready to go. Have that front yard look good. Obviously, first impressions make the door look good. If it's been damaged, fix that up. Those are things that you can do. And then also, one of the things that I do with my sellers, I know everyone's energy conscious, but whatever the wattage is in all the lamps and fixtures in the house, buy the highest wattage light bulbs so that it looks bright even on the gray days that we have.
Yeah, not too many gray days that we've had lately. No. So, but yes, I'm sure they're definitely all coming back. So there was some news this week, Wolf, and an incident that was really, really close for an agent potential attack almost. I mean, what are you doing for safety?
Safety is always one of those things that nobody really talks too much about, but everybody should be aware of. Personally, these are the things that I kind of follow if I'm out showing or if I'm out doing an open house. Is one is, of course, if you're in an open house, and this I think pertains to all, but especially to the female brokers, is that if possible, develop a buddy system.
Yeah.
You know, have someone, and perhaps if you're doing an open house, have your lender have you come to the house and hang out there. You offer a service, but you're also there to add an extra person. We want to make sure. I always make sure that I see who's coming to the door.
Yeah,
and that door's locked until I decide that it opens up.
Yeah, great
and
tips.
If you've got a couple and they want to split up and go to different parts of the house, just saying, folks, let me show you the house together.
And I think anybody would appreciate safety, and if they don't, there might
absolutely.
be something.
And,
might be something a little wrong there.
And I've actually gone to the point. I haven't done it all that much, but at an open house, there's nothing that says that you cannot ask the individual to show their ID and you take a picture of it with your cell phone.
Yeah, great idea. Well, thank you for coming back into studio.
My pleasure.
It was a pleasure having you here. Thank you again for all the guests that came in today. A lot of great information. This is your host and mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell, signing off for the day. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday, or if you're listening on Sunday at my rebroadcast, enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Have a great weekend, and I look forward to talking with you next week to talk about money right here on 1150 AM at KKNW.
The preceding program is paid for by Absolute Mortgage, a division of Pinnacle Capital Mortgage Corporation. Absolute Mortgage Company, NMLS number 81395 and Washington CL number 81395 is an equal opportunity housing lender. Tina Mitchell, MLO number 145420, is a licensed loan originator with Absolute Mortgage. Visit AbsoluteLoans.com or call 888-90-HOMES for cost information.